In a country as diverse as Nigeria, the legacy of women has always been profound, but often untold. From the pre-colonial era to modern-day Nigeria, women have stood resolutely at the vanguard of transformation, sculpting society, culture, and history with unwavering determination.
Long before colonialism reshaped the African continent, Nigerian women were already leaders. In the great empires across our land, women have played vital roles as warriors, traders, and decision makers. Take Queen Amina of Zazzau, for example. A skilled warrior and political leader, Amina expanded the boundaries of her kingdom in the 16th century, defying norms of the time by leading armies and negotiating diplomatic agreements, a legacy that embodies the spirit of courage and resilience.
Under colonial rule, Nigerian women were often silenced and marginalized. Yet, in the face of adversity, they found their voices. Margaret Ekpo, a fearless political trailblazer, rose to prominence as a champion for women's rights. Her advocacy and activism transcended gender barriers, pushing for women's participation in politics and the fight for Nigerian independence. Ekpo's leadership not only amplified women's voices in governance, but also marked her as a beacon of hope for a nation striving for freedom and equality.
First, she stumbled into activism and politics. But then, she reinforces the conversation around opportunity meets preparedness. Then, I think what young women can learn from this is, even when you're presented the opportunity, if you're not prepared, you can't take advantage of it. So she had something inside her, but it took just one chance, and then, she never looked back. One of the things I must say that I really admire about her is that she was a strategist. She was a strategist. Look at what she did with mobilization, World War II, and the scarcity of salt, buying all the salt in Aba market, and then, through that, she was able to then get women to register, because again, salt is an important household item. So if you need access to salt, you have to join, the Aba Township Women's Association then.
The 1929 Aba riots, a fierce and historic protest led by women of southeastern Nigeria, symbolized the power of resistance against colonial oppression. Women rose against oppressive taxes and colonial policies, sparking a movement that reshaped the political landscape. Though brutally suppressed, the riots forced the colonial government to reconsider its approach and highlighted the crucial role of women in shaping Nigeria's future. The legacy of the Aba riots became the foundation upon which women like Ekpo built their fight for justice and equality.
Another woman who stood at the forefront of the anti-colonial struggle is Funmilayo Ransome Kuti. She fought for the rights of the oppressed, notably the Egba women, who were affected by an oppressive taxation system.
She was a strict disciplinarian. So leading by example was one of the things I think made her stand out. And the fact that she had the courage to stand up to anybody. Funmilayo was an icon, a legend, a trailblazer, an activist, but an advocate as well. And the one thing she wasn't was a feminist. She was not a feminist. The history of feminism kind of, took its imprimatur from a culture that truly oppressed women. In Europe of those days, women were truly marginalized. They had no place in controls in society. Whereas in Africa, women had a lot of control in the social systems.
Funmilayo was a beacon of strength whose life continues to inspire generations to come. Then comes independence in 1960. Women were resolute in their desire to be active contributors to the nation's growth. Remaining on the sidelines was not an option. They were determined to be central figures in shaping the future of the country.
Barriers still exist, and Nigeria's political landscape is still very dominated by men. But there are notable women that have risen through the ranks. From Hajia Gambo Sawaba, one of the first women to actively participate in politics, who pushed for women's rights in northern Nigeria and found herself in prison 16 times for advocating against issues like child marriage.
To women like former Nigerian Minister of Finance and current Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, shattering the glass ceilings once thought indestructible.
I've spent a lot of time in places where merit drives, where I can compete and use my brains to get where you need to go, and you don't need all these other things. I think there has to be a concerted approach to try and support women to get in. One, finance. You know, it looks like you're in a democracy and finances become all important. It shouldn't be that way. We have democracies where finance is really regulated. I wish you were that kind of country where you can have an equal chance and equal opportunity.
Today, Nigerian women continue to redefine what's possible, contributing to every sector: technology, business, entertainment, and beyond. Nigeria's banking sector is a prime example, where several women are currently serving as group managing directors and chief executive officers.
In Nigeria's oil and gas industry, women are making significant strides, breaking barriers in a traditionally male-dominated field, from leadership positions in major oil companies to key roles in engineering, operations, and energy policy. Women, including chairperson and CEO of Britannia U, Uju Efejika's contributions are reshaping the industry, driving sustainable practices and promoting greater gender diversity in one of the nation's most vital sectors. Efejika was named among the top 6 leaders in the oil and gas industry around the world by Bloomberg, the only Black, only Nigerian, and the only African woman on the list.
Those that were saying that give her 2 months, a woman, what is she doing here? This is not a woman's this thing. I heard it, but I said to myself, I'm going to prove to them that this woman is a woman with a difference. What you can do, I can do it. Why? Because all of us are created by the same God. And he said that he created us in his own image. He didn't say because you're a woman, they gave you this, because they know. So with hearing that, I made up my mind that I was going to prove everybody wrong.
And in tech, women like Ire Aderinoku, the first female Google developer expert, are at the forefront of shaping the future, driving innovation on the global stage.
I think based on my own experience, like as a software engineer, I know how it's very often that you find that there's bias being put into software intentionally or not intentionally. And I think it's really important that women are a part of the process from end to end. One thing I've learned from my journey is, as a woman, not being afraid to be in positions where maybe you are one of the very few women, and just realizing that you can still have a significant impact, and your voice matters and your voice is important to be there.
Nigerian women are also making a powerful impact on the global arts scene.
One very memorable experience was when I was in Geneva, and everybody that was on the queue was not African. Long queues waiting to watch Funmilayo Ransome Kuti. And it just lets you know how far we have come as women in this space. When you look at what is going on the streaming platforms as well, Nigerian content, especially some films directed by women and produced by women, have gotten to top 10 on Netflix globally.
And on the international music stage, artists like Thames and Ira Starr continue to dominate and shape the sound of the future.
I've learned to cherish the journey, learned to cherish the process, learned to cherish the uncertainty, and that's what keeps me okay.
I got here being authentically myself. I got here so far being myself. So anytime I start to feel, like some type of pressure or feel like imposter, or like just any type of pressure, I'm just like, no. I got here being myself. I'm going to continue being myself, and wherever that takes me, that's where it takes me. And that gives me peace in everything I do, just being myself.
Oh, but women have the real power, bottom power. And for non-Nigerians, bottom power is an expression which I suppose means something like a woman who uses her sexuality to get favors from men. But bottom power is not power at all.
To unlock the full potential of women and girls.
Well, it's very clear, the economic case for having women in business, in the economy, and we have to have a set of measures that goes beyond GDP that really encourages that investment to open up those spaces and access for women in the economy. There is the care economy. I like to call it the society, care society, because I believe in many of our developing countries it is a whole of society approach to this. I think we also have to leverage the informal economy.
Equality. In the grand theatre of Nigeria's political landscape, a poignant drama unfolds. One where the voices of women, though comprising nearly half of the nation's population, are frequently silenced.
Representation, women being marginalized really affects the socioeconomic progression of the country. The National Assembly at the moment, I think the highest we've ever had in terms of women's representation was at 8.25. I think that was between 2007 and 2011. When it comes to the House of Representatives as well, I mean, we currently have about 16 women out of 360, bearing in mind that we also lost the only principal official at the House of Representatives at the beginning of this year, which was really shameful because, she's one of the good ones and, she's really fought hard to be where she is, and just losing her, to untimely death was really painful. So at the moment, we do not have, when it comes to the leadership of the National Assembly, we do not have women's representation. I must say that when it comes to the legislative agenda, the 10th Assembly has been quite progressive. They do have an agenda on open legislature and inclusivity, which means that they're thinking about it, and it's in the, it's in the agenda essentially. But again, there's a problem with implementation and execution in Nigeria, and that's where lies, meaningful representation. We can have 50-50, and women might not have the power they need. We might have, 20-80. But those women, they have access, they have representation, which means they can essentially be much more involved at the stage of design as opposed to, the outcome stage. So these are some of the dynamics that we need to think about when it comes to marginalization, and outcomes.
The legacy of Nigerian women is one of strength, resilience, and unstoppable drive. From the women of the past to those of today, this journey is one of shattering glass ceilings and breaking barriers, and in doing so, creating a brighter future for generations to come. It is important to fight both for the rights of women today and for a future rooted in an equitable society where all individuals, regardless of gender, have the opportunity to thrive.